What advice I could give other agents, and what I would say is it's just your mindset. If you're going to be like mad about it and upset about it, like you're probably not going to do a good job. Like they're going to feel that anxious energy when you're trying to explain it.
Right.
So just like let all of that go.
Yeah.
Just accept what it is that you cannot change and start trying to make adjustments where and how you can, and critique those and analyze those and see which ones are working and which ones aren't. It's just kind of like when we all started and we were swimming with our life vests.
Right.
We figured it out.
Right.
Because we're ambitious.
They're going to love me for my ambition. That line perfectly captures the essence of my conversation with the powerhouse herself, Ashley Spencer. In this episode, we delve deep into the concept of ambition, unraveling how it's not just the key to success, but the secret to achieving true greatness. Inspired by a Viking show that I recently watched, where the term ambition stood out, I realized during our discussion that this relentless pursuit is what makes Ashley exceptional in her field. It's the underlying fire that sets her apart. Curious to see what ambition in action looks like? Be sure to stay tuned to the end. Now let's get into it. You said you started at KW. You've never worked at any other brokerage?
Yeah, so I got into real estate in 2020 because my personal family was moving a lot and had some commercial properties. And so I found it beneficial, and we weren't satisfied with the real estate services we were getting. We were a very business-minded family, and we bought and sold commercial and residential.
Okay.
So for the lack of better words of like just not being satisfied with our experiences, and I saw, I was like, we're paying them a lot of money for their service, so we should be satisfied. Like, where's the value? And so I said, you know what, I'm just going to do it myself.
Okay.
Because I can do a better job for our family. Like I was not even pursuing it as a career.
Okay.
It was just to help us save some money and to make sure things were done the way we wanted it to be done.
Yeah.
To the standard that we wanted and all that. So anywho, fast forward, I got my license in 2019, did not start practicing until 2020.
Okay.
And my first transactions were selling my family home and then buying my new home by myself as an individual.
Okay.
So, and I messed up. I made so many mistakes. I didn't ask for radon. Like I submitted the inspection report before I got the radon results. So I'm glad I messed up on me.
Yeah, right.
Instead of someone else, right?
Right.
Really struggled through a couple of those, and then I had some transaction with friends, and two friends, one selling, one buying. So it was really cool, my sphere. And then I decided to try Zillow because I didn't have a sphere.
Yeah.
The two people that were in my sphere in Richmond used me right out the gate. It was like that was luck. But
the family and the sphere thing dried up real quick.
My family's more so from Eastern Kentucky. My sister lives in Moorhead, so Richmond.
I saw that on your profile. Lee County.
Yeah. Lee County, baby.
One of my biggest sales ever.
Woolly
was in
worm.
Lee
What?
County.
Really?
500 and some acre. It was off a 3 mile road where the park is.
Yeah.
If you go through the park and then that
so beautiful
brick gate right there, that farm there. It wasn't a farm. It was just the most beautiful piece of land I've ever seen.
Yeah, the gorge, right? Red River Gorge.
Well,
so.
yeah, I mean, it's outside of the gorge, but that piece
Right
in
there.
particular, this guy owned a water, like when people move creeks. So environmental, like if you got a business and there's a creek running through the property and you got to move it.
Oh yeah.
That's what they did. So but Lee County is beautiful.
Very small town. I graduated high school with 57 people.
Wow.
I knew everyone's first and last name. Everybody. My dad, because my parents still live there, saw my middle school language arts teacher and was at the grocery store and called me 5 o'clock Friday and was like, I'm here with Miss Thompson, and I just talked to her and she was like, you made my day. And it's that's the small town.
That's great.
And that's where the relationship, that the abilities I have and where it comes from.
Yeah.
It's very authentic, and it was just how I was raised.
Yeah.
Very open and
often
loving.
do you have a lot of friends there still, or?
Nope, not really.
No.
I mean, I'm a handful or less. We've all dispersed and gone out.
Yeah.
It's very secluded.
Yeah.
The resources and economic opportunities are very sparse.
Yeah.
So we had no choice but to
that's interesting.
go out.
That's interesting. I've learned a lot about all the different counties basically doing expired listings. So I've sold listings in 38 counties, and they're one that somebody else couldn't sell. So then I go there, and it's like, you're not from around here, are you? That's
Pretty much, yeah.
I'm like, no.
Where are you from?
Originally Michigan.
Okay.
Before I moved here, I lived in Florida, and I was sitting at a bar one day, and I heard these guys talking about this Yankee this and this Yankee that. I'm like, what are they talking about? I was like 28, 29 years old, like maybe a little bit older than that. And I was like, what are they talking about? Like, I've never heard that used in a derogatory.
Oh, wow.
This is from moving from Michigan to Florida. I like had no idea that was a thing. And it was just before I moved to Kentucky. And I was like, it set me back for a minute because I was like, oh my gosh, well, they discriminate against me because I don't talk like them.
Yeah.
But then I found out that it actually worked to my benefit after a while in real estate in Eastern Kentucky, even because people would recognize me because of my accent.
You're different.
Yeah.
Yeah, you stood out.
You were
unique and authentic. It was all unique to you.
Yeah, right.
And made you stand out.
Yeah. So it actually worked to my benefit. Yeah. But okay, so grew up Eastern Kentucky. You got your real estate license. Your sphere dried up real quick. Mm-hmm. You went to Zillow.
Yeah, so, okay, let me tell you about Zillow. Like, when I was a consumer, I had bought and sold 2 luxury homes at this point. And what did I do? How did I find my home? How did I get connected with my agent who made, like a ton of money within 18 months? Because we bought it, and then we turned around and sold it with her because she was the only person I knew. And so, Zillow, online shopping.
Right.
I didn't know that area.
Right.
So I got online. I'd be looking, shopping for houses. Oh, I see one I like. Let me call the agent. Called. She showed us like 20 houses.
Yeah.
We bought the house with her. A year and a half later, called her to sell the house with her. And I will always think of her and call her for that area. So it just is, that's how consumer behavior works. And consumer behavior was one of my favorite courses in college. Psychology, another one of my favorite courses. So I just like to look at the world from an observation of not just like my perspective, but like the other side. Like Apple's really great at it. They would make those commercials with the cool colors and the people dancing, and like that just really appealed to the masses because it was different. No one else was doing that.
Right.
And so they thought about like how consumers think. And so I was like, I'm going to get on. Yeah, I want to get on Zillow or whichever online place I can go buy some. And funny story. So it was a 6-month contract at the time. It was like $600 a month. So it was like $3,200 for the 6 months. And I got 1 lead under contract. That lead fell out of contract because their profit and loss and they couldn't get their finances secured. Mm-hmm. But we had found a FSBO. He called Zillow about a FSBO. So I had built the relationship with the FSBO. And then Ryan Serhant said, hey, if you have to deliver bad news to a client, make sure you sandwich it with some good news. Yeah. So when the client fell out, I was like, oh my God, this FSBO hates me already. Like, I'm going to have to deliver this bad news. Like, anyways, so I was like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And then I was like, I'm going to find a new buyer. I'm just I'm not going to call him and tell him that this contract fell through till I have a new contract. And I got one. Wow. Within like 24 hours. But I wouldn't have even thought of that.
Where was the...
I posted it on social media.
But where was the property?
Richmond.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I got it. It's actually another agent, an investor agent, reached out and said, hey, I'll let you represent me, if you'll hook me up with the details. And I was like, okay, you got it. And we closed. So the commission was like $3,200. Oh, wow. So I broke even. But then I learned how to convert, and I learned how to be more professional, presentable. I hadn't had any kind of training on that. Mm-hmm. Like, I didn't know what the heck I was doing. Like, I always describe real estate as kind of like when you're new or you're just starting with anything, I guess. But for real estate, I remember feeling like I was out in the middle of the ocean with like one of those like inflatable life vests that's on your body. Like, I wasn't in a boat. Yeah, right. Like, that would have been way better and less chaotic. But I was like literally swimming for my life with this life vest on out in the middle with no land around. Like, I had nothing, no one, it was like so scary. And the waves are like so huge, like crashing down, and you don't know what is going on.
That's really good. So you said you learned to convert. So what are some of the things you did to learn to convert? Where did that information come from?
So I joined a team with this really awesome lady who has like kind of like the exact opposite personality of me, like very put together, showing up 8 a.m., like very kind of like militant. She's actually in the military. We were just talking about it earlier. And she's awesome. And then I'm kind of like hippie,
Yeah,
like, oh yeah, whatever. Like I'll just go where the wind blows.
Yeah.
And like that doesn't really work so well whenever like to be taken serious. Like I'm really smart and I know what I'm doing, but I need to appear that way.
Right.
At least at first to kind of let them know, like I am a trusted professional here.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
it was
yeah,
like
for
for
sure.
me, it was finding that happy balance and someone that was like calling me out to be like, hey, you're an awesome person, but you're a sucky real estate agent.
Yeah.
That helped me. Like,
Yeah.
because I'm the type of person that is open to criticism. And I wasn't at the time, but as I grew in my profession and reflected back, I totally got it.
So what's an example of something that you changed to make things go
Well,
better?
there's a ton. One for sure was like how I answered the phone.
Okay.
Like I had never done any scripts. I never looked at any scripts. No one had ever scripted with me. So just having like a little tweak there on how to answer, and it just saying it the same way every time just makes it less, because it's scary. It's stressful. Talking to strangers is stressful. Like I love it, but it's also scary. Like sometimes I'll see the phone call come in and I might be literally right in the middle of like the hair salon or like getting a massage, and like you're on call kind of like a doctor, and like that's your pay, that's your livelihood. So you got to stop whatever you're doing and take that call.
Yes.
No matter what you're in the middle of. So
Right.
you like having that script and not having to think about it makes it nice.
Yeah.
Because you're on auto drive.
Right.
You set the appointment and you get in front of them.
Yep.
And Zillow taught me too, because they would give trainings.
Yeah.
So they were basically like, set the appointment. Don't answer questions. Don't ask questions. Hey, is this so-and-so? Yes, it is. Well, hey, this is Ashley with Keller Williams and Zillow. How are you today? Oh, I'm good. Thanks. How are you? Oh, I'm so good. Thanks for asking. It looks like you called in about 123 Main Street. Is that correct? Yes, it is. Well, it looks like you want to see it at 11 o'clock tomorrow. Cool. Is that right? Yes, it is. All right. Well, let me reach out to the sellers to get that set up for you, and I'll text you when it's confirmed.
Yeah.
That's it. Literally 45 seconds. Get off the phone and then meet them in person. That's where the magic happens.
Yes.
That's it.
So I got that school from the. So I was talking to a Zillow rep the other day, and I haven't paid for Zillow. For a while I was
Used to.
just to be a premier agent. So it was like $800. It was like the minimum I could pay to be a premier agent, so that I could. At the time, I was holding so many listings that I just so I could manage them, because I was like, I felt like I was out floating in the water when I got all my listings on Zillow, and I can't manage them or make changes to them. I was talking to a guy, this rep, just recently, and he was telling me about that. What do they call it? They call it appointment,
LP Mama?
motivation. No, this is no LP Mama. It was motivation, but
Appointment, motivation, and
area.
Yeah,
So it's
okay.
like confirm the address, find their motivation, or talk.
I don't even do that. I just set that appointment.
But they say that they have, with their flex agents, because that's why I was talking. I was like, well, how do I become a flex agent? Whatever. 'Cause,
I don't think we have it in this area yet.
Yeah, they do. Greg Buchanan is one. He's
Okay.
been one.
Okay.
But they said that that's what they monitor with their AI or whatever, is to listen for that with the calls, and they know
Who's
if you're
doing
talking
it.
about if you're pre-qualifying them, it puts up a red flag. It says, well, you're not going to close as many deals.
Or answering questions about HVAC or foundation.
Right. So that
know.
was interesting.
Yeah.
That was really
important.
interesting. But that's interesting that you came to the same conclusion working with people, and you were able to convert more by using that.
Oh, yeah. And then it was just kind of like how you show up. Like, you know what? Like, people call us. We're on call. So, like, if someone calls me and wants to look at a house in 2 hours, I mean, I might just be leaving an exercise class.
Yeah.
So you got to be like prepped and ready, and like slick that hair back, put on like a coat, tie it up, put on the high heels, and you might have like a workout outfit underneath,
Yeah.
but you're presenting yourself at least the first time.
Right.
Because you don't know who that is.
Right.
And you just want their respect.
Yeah.
You want them, you know what I mean? So you got to show up like you've done this a time or two.
Yeah.
You can't just roll up like looking all crazy, because then I would be taken aback, like if I was the client.
Yeah.
So then I started really being like, okay, like that makes a lot of sense. What to show up with, how to be prepared, as in what documents. Believe it or not, I've had clients be like, wow, no realtor's ever given me anything before. And I'm giving them the seller disclosure.
Yeah.
This is like the bare minimum.
Right.
How about like showing up a little bit early? Don't show up late. But like, believe it or not, these were things that I really had to go through.
Yeah.
To mold myself into
Yeah.
the person, the professional, and the expert that I am now.
Those are good. And I think some people don't, I was thinking about the word ambition last night, because I've been watching the new Viking show on Netflix, right? And they use that word a lot, like ambition.
Well, okay.
So like, you're very ambitious. I just for some reason it triggers something in my mind, so I look up the definition. But then on there it shows the use of that word, and in the 1800s, it was used way more than it's used today, ambition. But, the Vikings were before that. They were, I don't know what year that was, but my point is that that's what I find with a lot of, they don't have it. People don't have it. They don't know where they want to go, or they don't know why they're doing it. And real estate in general, I find that a lot with real estate. And I got into real estate for a very similar reason. I couldn't stand real estate agents was the reason why I got into it. You said it in a nice way. I'll say it the way I really.
I don't know what I'm allowed to say.
But that's why I got into it, because I felt like, they were entitled, and they felt like they should get paid.
I was screwed over, basically.
I felt the same way. So, and I think that's like really what I feel like with this lawsuit, in the settlement and the Department of Justice. One of the things I've been working on this message, right? Like this. I want to make this post, and it's like, I've put it through my head a million times, and I'm like, no, but I guess the headline is, as far as I've gotten, is like this is not an ethics violation. You're dealing with the Department of Justice. Like that would make it a federal offense. Like, so everybody that's trying to find a workaround or trying to fight it, well, you're not fighting a board of your peers.
You're fighting yourself.
You're fighting yourself, and you're fighting the government.
Just
fighting the federal government.
Whether we like it or not, right or wrong, I don't care how you feel about it. I'm not happy about it. I wasn't happy about it. I think it's ridiculous. I think it hurts first-time home buyers. And I have my own conspiracy theories about why the government's doing that, and we don't have to get into all that. But I know, it's not necessarily good. But I also know, in the time being, if I'm going to continue to make a living and function for myself. So what happened in April, when the judgment was passed, it wasn't official, it wasn't signed off yet, but they came to the plea deal agreement. So I was like, crap, this is really happening. All right, so let me test it out. Let me practice. So literally the next 3 clients I had, I took new paperwork. I changed my script. I showed up with everything they needed to sign. I was not a big buyer's rep agreement signer. I would not do it. I don't like it. I don't want to make you, you don't have to work with me. And it says right there, you can fire me. So I'm just not a believer in it. I'm a believer in the relationship. They like me, they'll call me back. That's that. But now I'm going to have to do it. So I was like, let me practice. This is going to be hard for me. So I did it. And one of the clients was the one that wanted to buy one of your listings. And the story with them is that we had been shopping for over a year. They were a Zillow lead. Called me, showed him several houses, and then 8 months later, showed him several houses again, wrote an offer, got under contract, inspection came back, mold issue, they weren't happy, they backed out, got their earnest money back. They love me. Literally, they think the sun rises and sets on me. They just adore me. Thankful. I mean, they literally will text me that they're talking at dinner and telling everyone how awesome I am. And it's so sweet, and I love those clients, So then, fast forward to April, so that was December to April, they found a couple more houses. We started looking again. And the one that they wanted was under 3%. And I was like, dang it, and this is going to be happening. This is what I'm going to have to deal with. I'm going to have to fight for my value. I'm going to have to prove myself. So I'm not having a buyer's rep agreement signed. In order to really make this make sense, I really needed to have that in place so that I could say, hey, we have to ask for this from the seller. Otherwise, you're going to have to pay it, which, wink, wink, I wouldn't have made him pay it. I would have taken the 2.5, and that's what I was saying the whole time, but this was on principle, and this was me practicing. So Which is amazing. And it just kind of worked out because the clients loved me. I had the relationship. They were like, yes, Ashley, we got your back, girl. Go get it. Go fight for it. They were, supporting me. And and it was a hard conversation to have. Because I was like, I need you all to sign this saying that you're going to pay me 3%. And then, by the way, here, the seller's saying he's going to pay 2.5. So that difference comes to about $2,000 or something. So I said, that's what I'm looking to collect. Because, as you know, I've worked really hard with you guys, and I feel like I've earned that, and I really need that. So if it's okay with you, sign this, and then I'm going to ask for X amount of closing costs, and just know that's not coming to you, that's coming to me. And they were like, okay, why are we doing this again? And I was like, well, because the seller's agent and the seller is not offering, and the agent's not advertising 3. They're advertising 2.5. So I want to get the extra percent. I want it. And so, and we tried to submit. We went back and forth on the contracts because, if you guys don't know, we weren't allowed to ask for compensation on the original offers. Well, now we can. It's built in. It's part of it. So a lot of stuff has changed because of this. And now that everything's kind of complying, it's so much better and so much easier. and I could have just written it in there and asked for it. Like, I couldn't have done it then, but now I can. So we just asked for closing costs. But the title company literally turned upside down. Like, trying to close, it was so insane. We almost couldn't close it because of me trying to just get that extra 0.5%. It was a nightmare.
Right. So that change in I think, really that why it's such a standout for me is that that conversation makes a conversation with a new buyer so much easier. It's like that lesson, through that, that's where my head was the whole time. I'm thinking this the whole time. I'm thinking I think about seller concessions, right? In that, and I think I might have said this to you before, is like that 70-year-old man that's like, I've always paid my closing costs and I'm not paying anybody else's closing costs. But really, they call it seller paid closing costs, but it's really buyer financing
it for 30 years,
The buyer's financing it and they're building it in. And if they had the money to pay their own, they wouldn't have to do that, right? The same thing with the commission. But the commission's always been baked into the price, and it's always been in there. Nothing's changing.
No.
Nothing changes at all except for the way that it's presented in the way that it goes down. And I think that I had the chance with a buyer that I work with, and it was like a long ways away. It was like 2.5 hours from here, 3 hours from here. And I didn't get a buyer disagreement, which I've always gotten them signed because
good practice. I wish I had.
Right. Well, when I explain the process of buying, that's the process of how I get paid. This is how I get paid.
Yeah. No, I love the way you have it laid out.
And then now that becomes a law. Like, I'm like, oh gosh. So I was on track the whole time. This is what the part that really bugged me about other agents that felt entitled to the 3%. Like, I negotiate my commission with the seller. You negotiate your commission with the seller as a buyer's agent, right? Like, I negotiate it, and now that's the way that it's going to be. So I'm like totally welcoming the change. I do feel like
I am now. I will say.
I feel like a lot of it's going to be like, like where you could be the best driver in the world, but you can get T-boned in an intersection, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like there's going to be a lot of that happening.
There is.
As the changes happen.
I have some stories of where I've lost 3 clients just by asking the question of death over the phone.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, like I need to change some things.
Right.
And I tried changes and some of those changes didn't work.
Right.
So you asked me in the beginning, like why did I do it, or what was it, like what advice I could give other agents. And what I would say is it's just your mindset. If you're going to be like mad about it and upset about it, like you're probably not going to do a good job. Like they're going to feel that anxious energy when you're trying to explain it.
Right.
So just like let all of that go.
Yeah.
Just accept what it is that you cannot change and start trying to make adjustments where and how you can. And critique those and analyze those and see which ones are working and which ones aren't. It's just kind of like when we all started and we were swimming with our life vest. We figured it out.
Right.
Because we're ambitious and that's who we are. And we're driven and we want results and we want to be good. And we want to be good not for us but for our people because we had the bad experience.
Yeah, right.
So we'll figure it out.
And it'll all get figured out. And searching out. But being ambitious and searching for the information and working to get better every day and trying.
Not afraid to fail.
Not afraid.
People have said canceled showings, asked them to sign it. No, I don't want to sign that. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you didn't waste my time. So now I can go find a client who really wants to work with me.
Right. And I think
so it's a good thing.
Making it a law where everyone has to do it. That's another thing too, is like in the past, if nobody does it, then it's a lot more challenging than if the Department of Justice says we have to do it. Well, then you have to do it. So it's not like you're stepping outside of what's normal. Like, this is what has to happen. This is the law. Like,
did you see where Colorado was saying their state laws trump it and that it's a violation of their citizens' rights to have to sign it? So that's interesting.
It is.
And that's going to cause a lot of problems because if some people are signing the reps agreements and the others aren't, you know what I mean? So I don't know. Now that I've accepted it and I've let go of all my animosity and resentment about change, because none of us want to change.
No.
Like what we had was working just fine. Like my business was rolling. We were good. And now you want to throw this in?
Yeah.
This is crazy. Okay, now you're just going to make me have to do a little bit more work. But that new work is going to become the new norm.
Yeah.
And new agents that are joining now are not going to know any other world.
Right.
But this world. So get over it.
And they don't.
Yeah, stay positive, and like, so my whole thought was like, tackle it head on.
Yeah.
Like immediately I was like, I have to practice this and see what happens.
Yeah.
And I tried, and it worked out.
And it worked.
And I made that extra $2,000 because I never did that before. You know how many deals I've closed that had 2.5%?
Yeah.
Tons.
Right.
Tons.
Right.
Because it's always been negotiable, and I'm totally cool with it because it is what it is. I thought,
right.
Well, now I know it's negotiable, and now I can ask for that extra.
Isn't
like
that
I'm
great?
so excited.
Right.
Yeah, it's just a flip of the perspective.
And having the conversation with people up front is
a must.
And that's what
Yes.
the whole lawsuit's about is
Yes.
the transparency.
The conversation up front.
Because if you think about it, like think about all those buyers, like, yeah, you could have said I get paid by the seller, but they didn't know. They didn't know that they could negotiate that.
What about sellers that thought that I got the whole 6%
Right.
or 5% or whatever?
Right.
And then we got to close, and she was like, well, I can't believe you had it. Like, why didn't you get all that? I wanted you to have all that. And I was like, well, that's so sweet. I appreciate it. But I couldn't have done this deal without the other agent bringing the buyer. So that's
Right.
I'm happy to do that. Don't worry about me. Like, we're good.
Right.
I'm happy with what I got.
Which I think is that right there. That's an important reason. That's why this happened. You know what I mean? Because
and I felt like I failed.
Right.
Because, like, how did she not know that that's how it worked? I'm like, okay, I kind of dropped the ball. That
Well,
wasn't explained better.
yeah.
And
It's
so
just
now
explaining
doing it
things
with
better.
the buyer, we do it with the seller. So why can't we do it with the buyer?
Right.
And if we're all doing it and we're all posting, everyone's on social media and they're seeing it, like, okay, I guess we really do have to sign this.
Yeah.
That girl from Zillow wasn't crazy just asking if we had signed it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
but that's the only way it's going to work. And so I guess that's why they've mandated it.
Yes.
And it's not going to work if you don't sign the rep and you show the agreement and you show them houses for 8 months, then you make an offer on the one and they're only offering 1%. You can't say, well, hey, by the way, can we sign this now? Because I'm going to ask them for 2%. Well, wait a minute. I want that extra 2% for my closing costs or my
Right.
down payments. And that's where you kind of get into I wish I would have just like confirmed this up front and
Right.
cleared it with them and let them know how it works and what I charge.
So good.
Yeah.
That's so good. All right, speed round. Here we go.
Okay.
Question number 1. What is the best strategy for a new agent to find their first client?
I would say shout it at the top of the roof. Like tell everyone, like tell the person at the gym, tell the person at Subway, tell the person at the grocery store, like get out there and talk about it and call, text, social media, whatever your mode of communication is.
Okay.
Start with that.
Good. What do you focus on to learn and grow?
I do a lot of self-reflection.
Okay.
So I spend a lot of time in meditation and talking with my close friends, my board of directors for my life.
Okay.
And like just bounce stuff off them and be like, like, could I have done this better? Like, like, what is your perspective of this? And I'm always looking at perspective and challenging myself to see where I could improve.
What can an agent do to improve their online marketing and social media presence?
Honestly, the first thing is be authentic.
Okay.
Just be yourself because it'll come through and people will feel that and they'll really like that. They'll probably be able to relate. And then second of all, just be consistent.
When you say consistent, what do you mean?
Just like if you're going to post once a week on Friday afternoon, post once a week on Friday afternoon. If you're going to post 3 times a week, once a day, whatever that looks like for you that you're able to do. And don't compare yourself to anyone else. Like if once a week is all you can do, that's great. Do it. It's going to pick up traction with the ones that are supposed to see it if you're being authentic.
If you only focus on one form of prospecting, what would it be?
I would say calling past clients and really nurturing my sphere. So I'm having a client event in September, and I'm so excited. We're giving away a Yeti. We do the pumpkin pies for Thanksgiving. We do the Easter event, and I just love it. Like, it's my absolute, because I get so much from it.
Yeah.
And I mean, I had someone telling me, oh, they can't make it, but that's okay. Like, I'm going to give you a pie. And they're like, well, we'll take some pie.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's just like, that doesn't feel like work to me.
Yeah.
So I enjoy that.
Okay. How do you manage your time effectively?
It depends on different time of the year. So like in the summer, I've been sleeping in, not going to the gym. But like when school starts back and I get up and take Ella, like I have a routine. So I'll get up and meditate and go to the gym and then come back and shower, then get ready, go to the office and like boom, 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 boom. And I'll try to set all my appointments. Like my schedule books up a week in advance. So like if you want to have coffee with me, it's going to be next week or the week after. And so I live and breathe and sleep and eat and die in my calendar.
Nice.
Obsessively.
A week?
Yeah,
That's
it's
great.
hard. That's why we talked last Tuesday.
Yeah.
So yeah, I
always-
squeezed this in.
I always talk about these contractors, and every time a business tells me that I've got to wait a week or 2 weeks, or like I'm in the wrong business.
Well, that's not for showings. Like I
No,
have
no, no.
blocks of time,
Right.
right? But if you're just like industry agent to
Yeah, yeah,
agent,
yeah.
like
Yeah.
yeah.
That's good. I feel like I need to block some time.
Well, maybe that's just how I like protect myself because it's important to take the time for yourself to decompress.
Yeah. No, that's
to
great.
reset.
What are some common pitfalls agents should avoid?
Make decisions for yourself. Think about who you are and who you want to be surrounded by, and don't get sucked into like believing a facade if someone tells you something. Like you really you need to check it out for yourself, ask a ton of questions, and you're going to make mistakes. So don't be hard on yourself. Like we all make mistakes. If you mess up, just pick yourself up and move on. I've learned more by failing, like building the team. Mm-hmm. I've made so many mistakes. My team agreement is like so much better now because the first 3 agents got away with so much, and every time I learned from it. So go fail, go mess up.
Yeah, that's
don't be
good.
hard on yourself.
That is definitely a pitfall.
Yeah. We're all type A driven and perfectionists.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a recovering perfectionist. So trying to not be so hard on myself, because then it's just like a double sword. Like you already messed up, so let me just beat myself up instead of being like, oh, I messed up. Let me take it out and heal the wound.
Yeah.
And giving yourself grace.
Yeah. What do potential buyers and sellers look for in an agent?
Empathy. They want to be heard.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's not about you. It's not your show. This is about them. This is a big decision in their life. So if you're there for them truly, and that comes through, competency. They want to know that you know what you're talking about. Mm-hmm. If they ask me a question about price per square foot or the neighborhood or something, like I want to know the answer. Mm-hmm. And if I don't lie. I'm just like, well, I don't know. Let me look into that and get back to you. It's transparency.
Yeah, right.
So those 3 things: empathy, competency, and transparency.
Love that.
And efficiency. Like, I think most of my 5-star, I only have 5-star reviews, but all of my reviews, most of them say, when you ask a question, she gets back to you right away. Mm-hmm. So I have had to try to put some boundaries in for me to have like my own personal life with my family and put my daughter. So, you know, maybe if you text me at 10:30 at night, maybe I'm going to try to wait to respond first thing at 7 a.m. or 6 a.m. in the morning.
I have a hard time.
But like for me, always, it's like instantly.
Yeah, I have a hard time.
It's like,
I have a hard time with that. And I realize that that's why people text you in the first place. Is 'cause they're saying you don't have to get right back with me most of the time.
Yeah. Well,
but in my mind, I want to get it over with because I won't come back to it.
Or I'll forget.
Or I won't, it'll be like so far down in the text list that
Same.
That's how I miss it if I don't respond right away. What are some best practices for staying in contact with your past clients?
The client events. Again, like do what works for you. For me, it's hosting events. I always do a big birthday party for my daughter every year, so I've just translated that into throwing a big birthday party for my clients.
Okay.
So for me, it's the events. I love that. It gives me a reason to call them, and instead of feeling like a nuisance when I'm calling them, because I don't think anyone likes cold calling. It's not really cold calling because they're past clients, but it still feels like cold calling, and it's still draining. So you're calling to offer them like a free Yeti. Yeah. You're like, oh my God, like I have something for you, and so how can you be mad at me?
Yeah,
That's what I have to tell myself. Like they're not going to be mad at me. They're going to want to have this conversation, and they do, and they love it, and so it really feels really good.
Yeah.
So do what you enjoy. For me, it's the events.
How many events do you have a year?
Well, this is my 2nd year doing events, and so I have 2 right now. And because 2 is a lot, I would like to have maybe a 3rd one in the summer because we go September, and then we do the pies in November, and then in the spring, March, April, we do Easter. So there's room for 1 more potentially, but I think that's plenty. Like every 6 months, I'm seeing you, talking to you.
Yeah.
And that's really crucial.
What are the best ways to retain clients and encourage referrals?
The 3 things I talked about, like empathy, competency, transparency. Just provide a good service and be there for them. Like you're there for them to make sure they don't have a bad experience like I had, and you enjoy it so they enjoy it, and everyone has a good time, and you make it so easy and stress-free, which we have to get better about letting people know all the things we do so that they know our value, because we do so good. It's second nature. We're doing everything behind the scenes. So they show up at closing and they're just like, oh, that was super easy. My agent didn't do anything. Yeah. Meanwhile, I'm back here like sweating, like, going crazy.
That's really good.
Yeah.
Why are some agents thriving right now?
I think it comes down to mindset and who you're surrounding yourself with. What do your conversations sound like? Are they negative or positive? I'm a big believer in attracting. If we speak negative out and complain, we're going to attract that. So just being very mindful of your thoughts also. Are your thoughts positive or negative? Yeah. So, I think I don't know if people, it's subconscious and they don't even realize they're doing it. But the ones that are doing good are just the go-getter winner attitude. Like, I'm going to win no matter what.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
You know? And so I think those people tend to have the, the strength to keep going.
How do you deal with haters?
Oh, God. Did you see that target on my back when I walked in? Like, it's there. Yeah, it's always there.
I wish I had consulting on this when I was, like when I got started in real estate. I felt like I was
tough.
On an island by myself, or
It's
like
tough.
out in the ocean by myself, whatever your analogy is. So what do you do? What do you do? How do you deal with it?
Well, I understand that the problem is not with me.
Right.
It is with them. And I don't take responsibility for other people's actions or emotions. And I'm secure in who I am as a realtor and as a person and as a friend and as a daughter and as a sibling. You know what I mean? So haters gonna hate. Like, there's nothing I can do about it. And jealousy is real. And it's like, that's all it is. If someone's talking bad about you or you hear someone gossiping, it's because they're jealous of the other person. I've been guilty of it.
Yeah.
And then I sit back and think, well, dang, like, you're just putting them down because you wish you had that.
Yeah.
So ultimately, I just feel kind of sad for them. And I wish that they would, work hard and get successful so that they wouldn't be haters. So we can all be happy together at the top.
Yeah.
Right?
That was my favorite question that I've asked you so far. Thank you. I think like our conversation will be really helpful to a lot of people if they listen to it or when they listen to it.
I do want to add, I talk a lot about like internal, like I've done a lot of like self-work and healing and just like stuff that you think doesn't have anything to do with business. But how you feel about yourself and how you talk to yourself is so correlated to how you operate in life, in business, and the way you show up. And one thing is the way you show up in everything.
Yeah.
So that being said, yes, all that's important, but also go to classes and take the time to hear the experienced agents and the people who are there to help you. Like, go to the Bluegrass Realtors course, like go to your brokerage courses, like have the conversations with the more...
I might disagree with some of the Bluegrass Realtors courses because I've seen some of the content that comes out of there. I agree with you. I know what you're saying 100%.
I mean, you got to do that. You can't just, I believe I'm going to do, and then show up and never looked at the document.
I want to attach to something else you said earlier, too, because you said, like, it was about vetting the people that or who you choose to put yourself around. And I think in real estate, if everyone had, like, a track record button by their name on social media, like, especially the people that give advice, and especially the people that are teaching or training, like, if there was something where you could click on something and it showed their credibility or their track record before you take advice from that person. Because I think a lot of people take advice from people that don't know what the fuck they're talking about.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
You're right,
that's what I would.
No,
yeah,
right,
you heard me.
Yeah, I heard
it's
you say that.
Go learn from those who are experienced.
Right.
That you trust.
Yeah.
That you know their track record and you know how they operate and you want to be like them.
Yeah.
Get in rooms with people that are better than you.
And right now, there's so much of that, and especially because of the lawsuit, there's so many people that are giving advice that shouldn't open their mouth. Like, shouldn't have anything to do with
blinders.
Yeah.
And like as agents, like you need to put the blinders on. And I think that's how I deal with haters too.
Yeah.
Like I feel very lonely.
Yeah.
That's true. It's very lonely at the top.
Yeah.
And I just remember going home some evenings and just being so alone. But it's okay because I'm on a mission.
Yeah, right.
And I'm fulfilled by my mission. And it is what it is. But just put those blinders on so you don't want to be getting advice and taking information from just everybody. That's a big one.
So I just wanted to attach that to that piece. Like, I just think that, there's a lot of information out there, and it's figuring out where you're going to take in your information. Like, what are you going to consume, and what are you going to create, and what are you going to be like? Like, that's one of my biggest struggles is the bridge between consumer and creator, right? Like, spending my time consuming, like, what am I consuming? What am I taking in? And then what am I putting out? Like, am I putting out more than I'm taking in? Is what I put out credible? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I want to be able to know that I'm the source, a good source for that, right? But I just think about that with a lot of people and what they take in. There was a class at Elbar that my wife went to about the docs, and like I wanted to call someone and complain, but they got so much going on. It's like they're just trying to do what they're trying to do, but why they send everybody into a tailspin when they don't know what they're talking about? You know, like that to me is like, so there's tons of stuff to consume and tons of stuff out there to get better. That's what I think the thing that I learned the most about you and the thing that I appreciate the most about you from this conversation is that you are a heat-seeking missile for that information. Like you're looking how to get better. And it's like one of the things that I struggle with a lot of times with the people that I'm around or the people that is like, sometimes I just want to shake them and say, whoa, what are you doing? Like, why are you waiting to get this from somewhere else? Like, this is all available. Just go get it. Right? Yeah. It's there.
Well, that comes from the drive and the ambition.
Right.
And I think that comes from, because I was thinking about it this morning when I was driving to Lexington, because I knew we were going to be talking. My mom would cry at the basketball games when the national anthem was going because she said she would visualize me going to the moon. Like literally like an astronaut because she believed in me. And she told me that. She said, amazing. And so I wanted to tell you this too. Every drawing contest, every writing essay contest, and every beauty pageant I ever entered, I won. Didn't always win first, but it's crazy because I believed I could do it. And how did I believe that? Because my parents told me I was so awesome. That I was the smartest kid. That I was the prettiest kid.
That's amazing.
Amanda Markham said the same thing.
That's amazing.
And I'm like, oh my God. Like that's how she is so good and confident and sure in herself. And she messes up, but she doesn't care.
Yeah.
And that comes really from a deep childhood.
So my mom would say, anytime that I would lie, she would tell me that I was a horrible liar. She's like, you are the worst. You are the worst liar I've ever met in my life. You're a horrible liar.
I say it to my daughter.
And to this day,
you just can't lie now.
I don't even attempt it. And if I do, like my whole face goes into a weird pattern. And they're like, what did you just say to me? Like, I'm like, well.
Like the sky really is purple, I swear.
But that's funny that my mom did that and your mom did that. That's really cool.
Yeah. It makes you honest. It makes you have integrity. Yeah, now I'm doing it naturally.
To get around a liar that spends their whole day trying to figure out what they said before, and they're trying to like make up for what they said and what they did.
Tired.
And like,
I don't have the energy.
I don't have that energy either. Well, thank you so much for coming on here today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This is awesome. I'm so excited. Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Bye.